Hello and welcome to the O Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, CW. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure to hit that bell on YouTube, tell a friend, and subscribe to the podcast on any and all platforms. Today, we're talking about short-term contracts, an idea that just popped into my head, and I wanted to talk about it, mainly because I think it would be a good idea. Now, why? Why did I come up with this idea? Why this revolutionary idea? Basically, I was watching Raw, and Mia Yim came out to wrestle for a spot on WrestleMania. Her and Candice LeRae teamed up to take on Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville. And Mia Yim took the pin, and Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville went on to, get their WrestleMania match in the Fatal 4-Way women's tag match for, no stakes. But they're on the card. And I felt bad. Not bad, but I felt like Mia Yim caught a raw deal because she returned in I think a very, good way, where she was the missing piece of the OC's feud with Judgment Day. They needed someone to answer the Rhea Ripley problem, I think they kept calling it, and they used Mia Yim as like a way to take on Rhea, to keep her at bay, so that the OC and AJ can take on Dom, Finn, and Damian Priest. And she came back strong. She put Rhea on her ass a couple times, but once that feud was over, the OC and Mia Yim, who I guess you can say was part of the OC completely, didn't have a whole lot to do. And they were showing that they were gonna go in a direction where they'll have something else to do, obviously. But then AJ got hurt. He broke his ankle or whatever the injury was, and it shelved any sort of momentum that they had going into WrestleMania. Now AJ's not there. I don't think he's going to be back for a couple of months still. And I think in the OC's or the Good Brothers contract, they said, if we're needed, we'll wrestle. But if we're not, we're not going to kind of job to anybody. And I think in that contract, they have a couple matches that they have to do, which is probably why they are in the Andre the Giant Battle Royale. They'll probably get tossed early so they can go home. But yeah, they haven't really wrestled at all. They were scheduled for a match on Raw at some point, and then they just didn't show up. It didn't happen for whatever reason. They didn't even reschedule it. They didn't even say why. But they've all but disappeared. The OC has all but disappeared. But Mia Yim is now kind of trapped in this limbo where the group she was with is not doing anything. So she's kind of just floating on the roster. She gets matches here and there, but she normally takes the pin. And she's tumbled down the card extremely fast for a person with such talent. She has a great look. She has great moves. She's great. I love Mia Yim. And the fact that she's now just taking L's to makeshift teams for a Fatal 4-Way for WrestleMania is a shame. And I'm hoping that the OC and AJ and her get back together and they have their faction. Triple H loves a good faction, so hopefully they get to reform. But her predicament made me think of short-term wrestling contracts for WWE. Now, what would that be? It's like, we need, AJ needs backup, so I want to sign these 3 wrestlers for, a 6-month program. They kind of do that with legends, but the legends are a little easier to manage because the legends are normally not going out wrestling anywhere else. So you can be like, can you show up like Lita and Trish? Like Lita and Becky Lynch aren't going to be tag team champs forever because, Lita's not going to be wrestling a whole bunch. But it's easier to call on Trish and Lita because they're not wrestling anymore. So you can be like, hey, can you show up for 6 or 7 months and, work a program and then, take off, whatever, keep your money and, be happy. But we need stuff like that for, regular wrestlers if it doesn't already exist. And basically, I wish they had done that with Mia Yim and the OC, because they're not doing much with them now anyway, except paying them for a full contract and having them sit at home, which is just a drastic waste of money. Let the OC go back to, New Japan and keep killing it, and then when you're ready for them, call them back, and let Mia Yim go be a star, a champion somewhere else, and then when you need her, if she feels like she should come back, come back. But having Mia Yim kind of float around at the bottom of the card, like she's completely divorced from that angle with the OC. She doesn't look like the same lady. I mean, I think she still comes out with the handkerchief on her face, but she's not repping AJ and the Good Brothers anymore. So I'm confused where she lives on the card. The fact that the women's division doesn't have a secondary title for them hurts. And I keep saying that they need to introduce like whatever the workhorse, whatever they call like the Intercontinental Championship for the men, or the United States Championship. They need one for the women's division so that women like Mia Yim and Candice LeRae and Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green, all these great talents can compete for that when they have, programs for Becky and Bayley and Bianca, a lot of B's up there at the top of the card, wrestling for the women's championship. Having, like an intercontinental or a pan-continental, or I think what I called the belt was the Monday night and Friday night championship belts, meaning every Monday and every Friday the women who have those championship belts will wrestle for that title, and have, tournaments and brackets and whatnot. Make it official so that the ladies have sort of a ranking system so that people know who's going to take on the champ every week. I think that would do wonders for the division and kind of put some gravitas on a title in the women's division, other than the big ones. The tag titles came in, and honestly, they've still done very little with them. When's the last time the titles were defended? As much as I love Lita, it does feel kind of gimmicky for Lita and the man, Becky Lynch, to be champs after taking it from Dakota Kai and Io Sky, who didn't really do anything to elevate those titles either. They just kind of had them. They just walked around with them. And I never thought that they were very dominant. Nor did Bayley do much to help them keep the titles. They just kind of had them, and they never really defended them. And then they lost them when they went up against, the man and friggin' Lita. Of course they're going to lose to Lita and Becky Lynch. Come on, that's not a thing. So yeah, those titles, they just exist. They continue to just exist. So I feel the women's division needs another title, another singles title, and give these other ladies stuff to do. Yeah, this whole episode really does boil down to, let's get Mia Yim a championship. I want her to get a championship. Are you telling me that Mia Yim can't beat up everybody there? You telling me she can't beat up Chelsea Green? Chelsea friggin' Green? Sonya Deville, I mean, she's like an MMA person, but I don't know. I feel like Mia Yim has the look, she has the size, she has the athleticism to be a champ. She was kicking major ass in NXT, and the fact that she's not right now, I mean, is indicative of how the women's division is treated in general, but also like what a not a waste, but just a misuse of great talent, especially after they went to so much trouble to get her back in the company. But it's WrestleMania, so people are going to fall by the wayside during Mania season, and hopefully get picked back up on the Raw after Mania. Maybe AJ will be back and the OC will reform, and Mia Yim will be able to then get back in Rhea Ripley's face and challenge her for the title after she inevitably beats Charlotte at there. What do you think of a short-term contract for wrestlers so that they don't fall down the card? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for listening. Again, I appreciate you, and don't you ever forget,
I'm your friend, but if I ever see you in the ring, I can beat you. Don't you know? Yeah, yeah, yeah.